Lewis?
No. Hardman. No. What if Hardman planted the CM memo in the first place?
Well,
Donna never saw the memo. Donna never makes mistakes. What if she never saw it 4 years ago because it wasn't there?
and then it was. You really think he had the balls to walk into that file room, open a box, and plant a document?
No security cameras and no locks on the doors.
Fine, but how did he get the document in the first place?
Hardman brought Coastal Motors into the firm.
Yeah, but he wasn't here when the case went to trial.
No, not the trial, the defect. What's the date Sarah Layton left CM?
There.
Hardman was still here.
Makes sense.
Sarah Layton confronts Kemp. He panics. Who's the first person he calls?
His lawyer.
Hardman tells him to bury it.
That's a crime.
You said yourself he wouldn't hesitate to commit a crime.
And for your information, I never met Anita Gibbs until the day I appointed her as my replacement.
When I first met Mike Ross, I thought he was like every other criminal I work with. An entitled fraud who spent his life cutting corners. But I'm here to tell you, he went in prison one man and he walked out another. And in my professional opinion, he has the integrity to serve his community as a lawyer.
Well, I don't doubt your sincerity, Mr. Rowe. Just because he was able to fool you doesn't mean he's going to be able to fool this board.
It's Dr. Rowe. And I'm glad you were the one who responded to my statement.
And why is that?
Because you tried to paint a false picture of his release, and I'm here to set the record straight.
The record is straight, and you're not qualified to talk about the deal that he made.
No, we're gonna hear this.
Thank you. It's true, Mr. Ross entered into an early release agreement, but it's also true that he stayed in longer than he had to keep his cellmate safe. And while he was there, he risked his own life to prevent a violent man from falsely obtaining parole.
And for all we know, he did that for self-serving reasons.
And for all I know, that's what you're doing right now.
You're out of line. I'm not the one under examination here.
Neither am I. I'm a prison psychologist, and in my experience, self-serving men do not risk their lives to help people.
I don't call defrauding your fellow man helping people, and I certainly don't call it having integrity.
With all due respect, ma'am, I'm done wasting my breath on you. Because the purpose of this hearing was to determine if Mike Ross had reformed, but you don't seem to be interested in that because you've already made your mind up.
Maybe I have.
Then maybe you shouldn't be on this committee. Because as I said, in my professional opinion, the world could use a lawyer like Mike Ross.
Yeah, well, I'm making it my concern, since I don't like watching prosecutors take advantage of unrepresented defendants.
All I'm doing is offering the man a deal. I'm not taking advantage.
That is bullshit. You know full well his lawyer didn't tell him to ask you for a continuance. He told him to ask the judge for one. Now you're gonna try and bully him into 3.5 years for what sounds to me like a simple misdemeanor theft.
You don't know shit about this case.
15 years ago, a young woman was arrested for illegally obtaining prescription drugs. Turns out she had chronic pain and didn't want to drop out of med school, possibly never to return. So she stole a couple of prescription pads from the hospital where she was interning. A crime with a mandatory sentence of 7 years. But instead of throwing the book at her, the prosecuting attorney showed mercy. Had the charges knocked down to a misdemeanor, recommended probation, and sealed the records.
That's a touching story, but I don't see what a random attorney has to do with these proceedings.
She's not talking about a random attorney, she's talking about me. Just because I showed compassion once doesn't mean he deserves it now.
Maybe he doesn't. But that young woman is now an ER doctor. She saves lives.